from Singapore. Hi, mabuhay mga kababayan. Hello everybody worldwide. Of course, in Singapore, they call me Pamela Wildheart, but many people really call me Pamela Pilapil. I am from Cebu, and I'm very honored and privileged to be invited to this very, yeah, I would call this very exciting and eye-opening program because I have a lot of things to share. It is a very big topic. Filipinos in Singapore. What is the progress? What are they doing? What is the story? What are the news details? It's very long, but I would like to start with the positive things because I'm a very positive minded person. Singapore is a country, to begin with, that is really concerned about the welfare of Filipinos. I've lived here for almost I'm not sure I should reveal the number of years. It will reveal my age a little bit, but okay, almost 30 years in Singapore. Oh my goodness. And was married to a Singaporean wonderful husband who passed away, unfortunately, on July 15, 2021, only this year. It's a sad story, but life goes on, and I have a lot of things to share with you. First and foremost, when you look at the newspapers in Singapore, especially during COVID, we realize that there is always news about our Filipina kababayans, because we don't only have Filipinas in Singapore, we also have Filipinos. We have actually a very strong demarcation line. I call it demarcation because it divides itself very interestingly. First of all, we divide it in such a way that we have the professionals, and they have the S passes or dependents pass holders, and we have the work permit holders. So based on the latest statistics, it was an interesting number. And this was straight from the Ministry of Manpower Singapore's number that in 2020, there are 247,400, OFW. And we're talking about our foreign domestic workers, okay? And then there's about 245,600 in 2021. This is interesting numbers being given because maybe I move on to my first very interesting article I want to share with you in this slide. Okay, you can see for yourselves that being a multicultural, country that we are. Moving on. Yes, there is instead a growing demand of Filipinas to come to Singapore despite the COVID. That is a very interesting news, don't you think so? Because instead of many countries saying, oh, we don't welcome you or whatever, there is a rise in need because many Singaporeans are working from home, and they're very challenged by working at home with the children running around. They can't cope with cooking. And I myself experience it, and many of my friends. Okay, I have a lot of careers, by the way. I'm not going to go back into myself, but I do lecture in a university. I have a lot of things. I'm a career woman, but I do a lot of Filipino projects. So this is interesting that I can really understand it from a different perspective. Moving on, and yes, it's even more interesting to see. I'll show you pictures first. Okay, I was talking about the numbers of Filipinos. Moving on, please. And you can see I do a lot of lectures or enrichment courses for Filipinos in Singapore. Okay, so can we move on the pictures? Just click. And I do also beauty pageants, which is really looking into these contestants. I teach them, I groom them, and it's not only for Filipinas. Thank you very much. I participated in a book which I contributed 2 poems. Now, before we move on to that, going back to the book, there's no need to flip into the book. It's interesting because that is a contribution by Filipino workers, the foreign workers. These are my students. And you can imagine what kind of courses I'm teaching them. We can move forward. I'm teaching them courses in stress management, English, yes, and character building, which is actually the professional attitude, call center, and telephone manners. Okay, this is only outside of the university that I'm teaching. Okay, well, after you've seen this, please hold on to this page. I just want you to hold on to that while I continue talking about the developments in Singapore. Aside from this interesting news, we also learned that the doctors in the new requirement for 2022, that will be next year now, the doctors will be checking on the BMIs, okay? The body mass index of our kababayans, our FDWs in Singapore every year. And in fact, they may increase it to twice a year. They just want to see how healthy they are and if there's any cases of suspicious abuse. So I'm giving you the good news first, because it's interesting. And of course, the MOM, or the Ministry of Manpower, and that is the body that is really authorized to deal with our OFWs, they will also be interviewing Initially, they'll be going house to house 2 times in a year. Our Filipina kababayans, they interview them with or without the employers, or they can also be having. They will be building three. I heard, and I think it's accurate. 3 centers which they can go and visit in the event that they're being abused by their employers. So I would easily say that Singapore is taking a very proactive stance when it comes to this. Having said that, I would like you to take a look at this on screen. Filipino maid watch her husband pass away over a video call. This is very recent. And what I'm trying to say is that owing to COVID, many of our Filipino kababayans are now based at home, the usual Sunday off, where they're actually able to sit down in their favorite places, like Lucky Plaza is well known for it in Singapore, or other places where they can socialize, meet their friends, talk to them about what did you do this week, what are you doing. I mean, this is, and they go to church. Well, this has changed. They're now staying at home because most of the employers are very worried with the COVID situation in Singapore being a very small country. So now they're based at home. And so there are many of them who heard that their family members are sick or passing away and they cannot go home. It's a very heart-wrenching scenario. Like when my father passed away, I couldn't go home. There was a lockdown in Cebu at that time. So it was a very traumatic experience for me. Same as many of our kababayans who actually are cooped up in this home and with their employers. And then although the employers treat them well, not everyone though, but they do have this feeling of homesickness. And when someone is sick, very close to you, and you see them, well, one of the employers did a very good task, or uh, how to allay or give this maid moral support. They watch the passing of her husband online. That's new to me, and I even had a tear in my eye. They watch it together, an employer together with her maid, sitting down and sharing that kind of pain. This is what brings together the working together with your employers and also you as an employee. I have taught, work, grew many Filipinas, and in terms of doing community service, I do a lot of them. I host big shows. In fact, I do training for them many times for home organizations here, humanitarian organization for migrant economics. Okay, and they are very important because if maids do run away, they go there, or probably fast, another organization, and ASCII at the time, and many other organizations. They're very concerned about the welfare of our Filipinos, and they have a place to go to talk about how they feel. Still, there are many cases which are undetected, and of course, we still have our Philippine embassy. So, nothing perfect, just nothing perfect, because there are many cases where they're unreported. What I'm trying to say is that when they have these avenues and they know where to go, where to report, and what to do, they become informed citizens. I would like to move on to the last page. After working for my slide, moving on, and after having worked for a very long time, I would like to see the next slide, please. Yes, and this is coming from me straight based on my experiences. I think we focus so much on the physical health of our OFWs. I have one at home, and in fact, I wrote music for her. I have a lot of songs dedicated to OFWs, and I call her my general manager at home. She manages my home affairs. Okay, and she's been with me for 21 years of her life. Can you imagine, in Singapore, I have her with me all the way? Well, one important thing is we do not just want to focus, and these are my suggestions, how we can work better with them. And also based on my interviews and based on my interaction, we shouldn't be focused on maids. We call them maids all the time. Yes, they are. They are, actually. There's no other name but that, but there should be a better way of showing them respect. They're not. That is a very old term now. It has actually evolved. In fact, I consider my general manager of my domestic affairs in my residence. She's actually not that. She's family. I don't want to talk about her physical health alone. That our doctors can take onto. But there's also times when you as an employer should look at their mental health. And this happens so much because of the different backgrounds or probably where they come from. And so, example, gaining respect for them, the way they work, but also understanding that when you talk to them, you need to understand the differences culturally. They have a different pace. And like when I talk to my my general manager. That's what I'm going to call Jennifer. And I talked to her. She always speaks in a very loud voice, like, oh, I got, oh, 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 and she's really loud. I say, can you tone down a bit? And you know what? This is very funny, but this is what she told me. Madam, I come from the mountains. Every day I need to bring out the goats, the goats, GOATS. I said, huh? Because her English needs improvement, but I can understand her well. I'm not against, it's just the way she speaks. She says, oh, I get the goats. At first I didn't get it. And I let them eat the grass in the mountain. In another mountain is my brother, and I have to call him and say, are you finished feeding the goats? And my brother has to listen to me, and you need to have a loud voice. So, madam, forgive me, my voice is very loud. I find that very amusing. There must be times where you share it, but the mental health, they're easily demoralized. I noticed that when I talk to stress management courses I do, many of our OFWs are telling me the pain they go through, not being able to send enough, what they are always facing, where members of the family add on to the pressure, calling them almost every day, asking for money. That to me caused them a lot of stress, especially during these difficult times where the salary may have some problems or they may even lose their jobs. Well, I think that's important. And then we must ensure that they can rest properly. Right now, I talked to them and there were some issues that was interesting to me. They said that in the past, they were able to go out of the house on a Sunday, totally out of the house. And this is why it's interesting, because the Ministry of Manpower Singapore stated that you must give in the coming 2022 your OFWs 1 day compulsory leave without pay. You don't not without pay, not compensated by money. You must give them time off, because right now what's happening in many cases in Singapore is this OFWs stay at home, and then they're just given a certain amount of money to sort of allay the time, or to pay them for the compensation, as a compensation for the time they spend at home. So these measures are important, where and this being free means their own time, their own space, because they said, and this is what I gathered from my interviews, that actually stay at home, they still can't help it. Sometimes, without meaning to, the employers will call them to help them with this and that. So it doesn't become a total rest day. They can't go out because of COVID, and they're also worried about them. And then they need to break away. This is the first lesson I teach all our OFWs. The amount of time you spent on self-pitying, this is a complex, a victim complex, like, oh, I'm just a maid. And they keep using it themselves. I'm just like this. My education is bad. I can't do much. And this happened to me for a long time also with my general manager. I told her to get hold of a computer, learn how to be digitized. And she was always telling me, I'm not born to be a digital person, madam. I'm born to sweep the floor. But this is not true. Absolutely not. You can use the computer. You can use your phones. I have no problem with it. Get digitized. Get educated. This is the new language. You will save a lot of money than calling home. Well, she's now very savvy. And I have to bring it up that Jennifer is very savvy. She has a Bluetooth. She has internet, she has access, and she has the phone that she can use liberally. What I'm saying is that they have to take this complex out, because once you are out of this complex, you begin to see that everybody, regardless of work, is empowered to become better than what we are. So during the courses of my teaching them, I listen to them, and this is actually like maybe 40 to 50, in fact 60% always talk about how poor they are, why they have no hope, why they can't go on. So this has to change, actually. During the courses I'm teaching, I try my very best to let them change this mindset. Because calling yourselves like a maid, I have no capability, they're actually very intelligent and talented. They need to upgrade their skills through studying, taking lessons. A lot of them are free, even in Singapore. You can attend. You can go guitar lessons, or maybe do some crocheting, or probably taking photography. They could be livelihoods. And many of them are taking caregiving courses, which they find very important. And then the communication skills need to badly improve. I talk to them a lot. It's not just about speaking English. Communication skills covers a lot. And I'm happy to share that I'm a specialist in communication. Our OFWs here need further training on that, because to them, communication skills is just listening, and maybe that is what they have been told to by the employment agencies, but actually being assertive positively is good, so that the employers will understand, because Singapore is a different culture. I live here, I'm married to a Singapore man. There's culture in Singapore when it comes to work is it's business. Say it. Let's see what we can do about it. This is based on my experience, having been working in very big organizations where I am the boss. From the radio station to, in fact, an attraction, world class attraction, I run and I manage and I deal with people. And being a Filipina would be challenging, but I never felt that. I felt we're all born equal, and that is coming from my understanding of the attitude issue. Okay, so we need to also improve the social media etiquette. A lot of our kababayans go online and talk about the misery. Well, there's nothing wrong if there is a forum on that. But please don't do it in a public setup where you are just heightening the stereotyping of our maids. They call them maids. They're suffering. To be honest with you, the relationship between employer and employee also takes both sides. So I'm not really with the employer alone. There are very, very problematic employers, but there's also the problem we have of our kababayans who may not be able to articulate it clearly, what they want and what they cannot do, because we have a very I don't know how to call it, a Filipino trait of patience and perseverance. Like, even if you cannot cope, you say, oh, I'll try. I'll do it, ma'am. I do it. No, if you really cannot tell them, I need rest, I want a break, I'm very sure, unless they cannot help you, then you can always go to the proper channels. Do the proper channels first and then make some actions. There's a lot of organizations that can help you. And think about empowerment and your family entrepreneurship. Instead of always giving money to your family members every month, maybe we have to start thinking of activities where they can start a livelihood. This is a challenge, and it is a tough one right now. Easier said than done. And I'm not pretending to be an expert. I'm saying, and I want to share this, that it has to start with, please learn to have a livelihood that can go through and save everybody in the difficult rainy days. It can happen because you yourself can lose your job once your employer is out of job, and then you have to look for another employer. And think charity also, which this is not a problem. Many of our kababayans here are very, very, very much immersed in doing charity, even if they're already overloaded. I want to call it myself, I call it sakapwa. This might be a very good program. I mean, I'm thinking, sakapwa means it's for others, and it's just a simple slogan that I've thought about when I was thinking deeply. How you think we can contribute even more to our fellow Filipinos? We start home first, our kababayans. By the way, I don't just deal with Filipinos. I deal with a lot of Indonesians, and in projects that I do, mostly uplifting ones. And the last one is, please don't give all your money. Save some for yourself. You need to be empowered financially. So what I'm here for today is not just to name you organizations which can help you. There are plenty of them. The list is long. Every country has an ambassador or a diplomatic, source of information from your attaché or labor attaché. But that is not the point. The point is we easily can call these low-hanging fruits, where we ourselves can see that there are many things that we should begin with. And I think for me, number one really would be the breaking away from the usual self-pitying and victim complex. Because this victim complex is really powerful. You feel like, I can't learn the computer because I'm so poor in my home. Now you're given the opportunity. Pick up the phone, learn to answer it properly, learn to take notes. Everything you do is a learning curve. And I've been doing this philosophy for a long time in my life. And actually, on the contrary, I don't become a conduit for all the sufferings you have. I listen to it, but I want to give practical solutions. And I do deal a lot with OFWs. They call me like, oh, I need a job. They thought I'm an employment agency, which I'm not. But because I'm connected, I can refer them. So there are many ways we can help them. Talking is, in fact, the most important right now.